final chapter of the Cunningham-Reese comparison was written on July 24, when Adidas released the full sales figures for Cunningham's PE shoe. The numbers were staggering. The shoe had sold out in 48 hours, with over 50,000 pairs sold in the first week alone. Adidas had to rush to restock, and the demand showed no signs of slowing down. Reese's shoe, by contrast, had sold a fraction of that number. The launch had been quiet, the marketing had been muted, and the sales had been disappointing. The gap between the two players was no longer just about jersey sales. It was about everything else, too. The internet was ruthless. Sophie's shoe sold out in 48 hours. Angel's shoe is still sitting on shelves, one fan wrote. That's the difference between a player who's loved and a player who's tolerated. Cunningham responded to the success with her characteristic humility. "I'm just grateful for the support," she said in a statement. "I never expected any of this. I just wanted to play basketball and be a good teammate. Everything else is a bonus." Clark, who had been Cunningham's loudest supporter throughout the process, shared another photo of herself wearing Cunningham's signature shoe. The caption read, "My enforcer, my sister, my friend. So proud of you, Soph." The gap between Cunningham and Reese was now a chasm. The comparison was no longer even close. And the basketball world had moved on to the next story. The WNBA All-Star break was approaching, and the fever pitch around the fever had reached levels no one could have predicted. Sophie Cunningham's Adidas PE launch was still trending on social media. The jersey sales numbers were still being dissected across every platform. And the comparison between Cunningham and Reese had become one of the most talked about stories in the league. But Cunningham wasn't done making headlines. In an interview with The Athletic that dropped on July 22, she addressed the comparison directly for the first time, and her words sent shockwaves through the basketball world. "Look, I've never been a superstar," Cunningham said. "I've never been the player who scores 30 points a night or gets all the endorsements. I've always been the player who does the dirty work, the one who takes the charges, sets the hard screens, and protects my teammates. That's who I am. That's who I've always been." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "If people want to compare me to Angel Reese, that's fine. She's a great player. She's done amazing things in this league. But I'm not her. I'm Sophie Cunningham, and I've earned everything I've gotten." The interview went viral within hours. Cunningham's fans praised her for her honesty and humility. Reese's supporters accused her of taking a shot at their favorite player. The debate raged on social media for days. Cunningham's coach, Stephanie White, weighed in on the comparison during a press conference on July 23. "Sophie is a unique player," White said. "She's not trying to be anyone else. She's just trying to be the best version of herself. And that's all we can ask of anyone." Clark, who had been Cunningham's loudest supporter throughout the process, shared a photo of herself wearing Cunningham's signature shoe with the caption, "That's my enforcer. LFG." The post had been viewed millions of times, driving even more demand for the shoe. Meanwhile, Reese was dealing with her own challenges. The Dream had lost 6 of their last 8 games, and the pressure was mounting on the team's star. Reese had been doing her part. The 23-point, 13-rebound, and 3-assist performance against the Sparks was proof of that, but the team's struggles were overshadowing her individual success. The gap between Cunningham and Reese was only getting wider. The comparison was only going to get more brutal, and the internet was making sure everyone knew it. The Fanatics report hit the internet like a nuclear bomb. The top 5 WNBA jersey sellers in 2026 were Sophie Cunningham, Angel Reese, Azzi Fudd, Flau'jae Johnson, and Paige Buchers. Cunningham was number 1. Reese was number 2. The gap between them was staggering, and fans were not letting anyone forget it. Let me read you the actual numbers, because the gap is almost unbelievable. Cunningham accounted for over 30% of all Fever jersey sales by herself. Combined with Clark, the two accounted for 71% of all WNBA jersey sales across the entire league. That means 2 players from the same team were outselling the other 11 teams combined. The trolling of Reese's fans was immediate and brutal. "Reese fans can't afford on food stamps," one Clark fan wrote on social media, taking a shot at the Dreamstar supporters. "Studs are punching air right now," another fan added. "Sophie made me into a fan," one Fever supporter commented. "Holy moly, they are laughing all the way to the bank. Go Fever," another wrote. The comparisons between Cunningham and Reese had taken on a life of their own. Fans started calling Cunningham the White Angel Reese, a label that was meant to be both complimentary and dismissive. But here was the uncomfortable truth that Reese's supporters couldn't escape. Cunningham was actually selling jerseys. She was actually moving merchandise. She was actually turning her on-court reputation into off-court revenue. Reese, for her part, was still having a strong season on the court. She had recently put up a 23-point, 13-rebound, and 3-assist performance in the Dream's home win over the Los Angeles Sparks. The win helped Atlanta snap a 5-game losing streak and regain some momentum. But the off-court narrative was shifting in ways that Reese's camp couldn't control. The gap between Cunningham and Reese wasn't just about jersey sales, it was about everything else too. The shoe launches, the viral moments, the cultural impact. Cunningham had been riding the wave of Clark's popularity, but she was also creating a wave of her own, and Reese was being left behind. Cunningham's journey from role player to marketing phenomenon was a testament to the power of authenticity. She hadn't changed who she was. She hadn't softened her edge. She had just found a platform that appreciated her for exactly what she was, a player who would do whatever it took to win. And the comparison to Reese was only going to get more brutal with each passing day. The Adidas PE launch was just the beginning of Sophie Cunningham's transformation from role player to marketing phenomenon. Behind the scenes, Adidas had been preparing for this moment for months. The company had signed Cunningham to a shoe deal in early 2026, recognizing the viral potential of the Fever's enforcer. But even they were surprised by the response. The shoe sold out in 48 hours. The initial run of 5,000 pairs was gone almost instantly. Resale prices tripled within hours of the release, and the demand showed no signs of slowing down. Adidas rushed to restock, but the damage was already done. Cunningham was officially a marketing force. The timing couldn't have been better for Adidas. The WNBA's popularity was at an all-time high, driven primarily by Clark's rise. But Cunningham's appeal was different. She wasn't a superstar. She wasn't a scorer. She was the enforcer, the protector, the player who would do whatever it took to win. And that role had resonated with fans in a way that no one could have predicted. The comparison to Angel Reese was inevitable. Both players were physical, aggressive defenders who weren't afraid to mix it up. Both had been labeled as villains by opposing fan bases. But Cunningham had something Reese didn't, a signature shoe that was actually selling out. Reese's Adidas deal was still in development, and the launch had been quiet by comparison. Cunningham's shoe had become an instant phenomenon. Clark had been Cunningham's loudest supporter throughout the process. The day after the Adidas PE launch, Clark shared a photo of herself wearing Cunningham's signature shoe with the caption, "That's my enforcer, LFG." The post had been viewed millions of times, driving even more demand for the shoe. Cunningham's rise from role player to marketing phenomenon was a testament to the power of authenticity. She hadn't changed who she was. She hadn't softened her edge. She had just found a platform that appreciated her for exactly what she was, a player who would do whatever it took to win. And the comparison to Reese was only going to get more brutal with each passing day. The timing could not have been more perfect. Just as the jersey sales numbers were dominating headlines, Sophie Cunningham dropped her signature Adidas PE shoe launch, and the internet exploded. The shoe, a clean all-black design with red and white accents, sold out within 48 hours across all major retailers. Adidas had expected strong demand, but nothing like this. The initial run of 5,000 pairs disappeared almost instantly, and resale prices tripled within hours of the release. Fans rushed to social media to show off their purchases. "Got my Sophie Cunninghams." The enforcer finally gets her due, one fan posted, alongside a photo of the shoes. "Been waiting for this since she started defending CC." Finally, Adidas knows what's up. The viral moment was fueled by something unexpected, the rivalry between Cunningham and Reese. For weeks, Cunningham's fans had been trolling Reese's supporters, comparing the Fever's enforcer to the Dream star. The white Angel Reese label had been weaponized against Cunningham, but the jersey sales numbers had shifted the narrative. Cunningham was actually selling jerseys. She was actually moving merchandise, and now she had a signature shoe that was actually selling out. The gap between perception and reality was only getting wider, and Reese's supporters were left scrambling to defend their star. Reese's fans fired back with claims that Cunningham's success was only possible because of Clark. "She's riding Clark's coattails. Without CC, nobody would know who Sophie Cunningham is," one detractor wrote. "Put her on any other team and she's a nobody." The argument was predictable but flawed. Cunningham had been in the league for 7 years before Clark arrived. She had built a reputation as one of the grittiest players in the WNBA. She had made her name through hard fouls, tough defense, and unwavering loyalty. Clark hadn't made Cunningham. Cunningham had made herself. Clark had just given her a bigger platform. The comparison to Reese was inevitable. Both players were physical, aggressive defenders who weren't afraid to mix it up. Both had been labeled as villains by opposing fan bases. But Cunningham had something Reese didn't, a signature shoe that was actually selling out. The viral moment was a turning point for Cunningham's career. She was no longer just Clark's enforcer. She was a brand unto herself, and the shoe launch was proof that her marketability extended far beyond her role on the Fever. Off the court, Cunningham had been doing her thing too. She had fiercely defended Clark against what she viewed as targeted, overly physical play from opponents, drawing attention across the league. The two also had a close, playful friendship. They had recently grabbed headlines when Cunningham made a surprise, viral cameo at UFC 329, which Clark publicly praised as so fun to see. Clark had been Cunningham's loudest supporter throughout the process. The day after the Adidas PE launch, Clark shared a photo of herself wearing Cunningham's signature shoe with the caption, "That's my enforcer, LFG." It was a simple post, but it said everything. Cunningham's shoe launch had become the most talked about moment in the WNBA, and the comparison to Reese was only getting more brutal with each passing day. The WNBA jersey sales numbers for 2026 have been released, and the results are staggering. According to the latest report, Clark and Sophie Cunningham together account for 71% of all WNBA jersey sales. Let that sink in for a moment. Two players from the same team are outselling the rest of the league combined by a margin that is almost impossible to believe. Clark's dominance was expected. She has been the face of the league since she stepped onto a WNBA court. But Sophie Cunningham, the Fever's enforcer, the player who spent 6 seasons in Phoenix as a gritty role player, the woman who made her name by wrapping her arms around opponents' necks to protect her superstar. She is now one of the most marketable players in the league. Fans have taken notice. The comment sections on every social media platform have been flooded with reactions to the jersey sales report. "Holy moly, they are laughing all the way to the bank. Go Fever," one fan wrote. "Sophie made me into a fan," another commented, confirming that Cunningham's rise from role player to fan favorite is not just about her play on the court. The trolling of Angel Reese's fans has been equally brutal. "Reese fans can't afford on food stamps," one Clark fan said, taking a shot at the Dream Star supporters. "Studs are punching air right now," another fan added. The comparisons between Cunningham and Reese have taken on a life of their own. Fans have started calling Cunningham the White Angel Reese, a label that is meant to be both complimentary and dismissive. But here's the thing that makes the comparison so painful for Reese's supporters. Cunningham is actually selling jerseys. She is actually moving merchandise. She is actually turning her on-court reputation into off-court revenue. And she is doing it while being the exact same player she has always been. The enforcer, the protector, the player who will do whatever it takes to win. Reese's jersey sales are still significant. She is a 2-time All-Star, a rebounding machine, and a cultural phenomenon. But she is being outsold by a player who was never supposed to be a superstar. And the internet is making sure everyone knows it. The jersey sales numbers are just the beginning. Cunningham's signature Adidas PE shoe is launching this month, and the hype is already building. Off the court, she is doing her thing too. Cunningham has fiercely defended Clark against what she views as targeted, overly physical play from opponents, drawing attention across the league. The two also have a close, playful friendship. They recently grabbed headlines when Cunningham made a surprise viral cameo at UFC 329, which Clark publicly praised as so fun to see. The gap between Cunningham and Reese is only getting wider, and the comparison is only going to get more brutal. The WNBA jersey sales numbers just dropped, and they are absolutely devastating. Clark and Sophie Cunningham combined account for a staggering 71% of all WNBA jersey sales. Sophie Cunningham, the Fever's enforcer, who wasn't even supposed to be a superstar, is outselling players who have been in the league for years. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's fans are being trolled mercilessly online with brutal comparisons to food stamps and poverty. The White Angel Reese label is being weaponized against Cunningham, but unlike Reese, she's actually selling jerseys. And now, with Cunningham's signature Adidas PE shoe launching this month, the gap between the Fever's enforcer and the Dream's rebounding queen is only getting wider.